So here we get to on the left picture is Kekkonen and Khrushchev. Now, Kekkonen, after Paasikivi, he came in after Paasikivi as his protege, and he was basically, of course, chosen through the Kremlin, officially, of course, popularly elected, because Paasikivi, of course, gave him exposure and the as much as the papers
Before
were
we
printing.
go on, I want to ask you. Sorry, was Kekkonen sort of chosen by Paasikivi because he believed in the same style of keeping the peace?
Yes, yes, that's
okay.
directly it.
And then
sorry if I didn't specify
Moscow
that.
sort of just saw, or Kremlin just saw an opportunity and sort of made him theirs.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yes, but they also put more pressure on him since Kekkonen was very much, of course, we will probably get onto this when we get to the Center Party or the Agrarian League later, but they're more staunchly Republican in their roots. I've called
Was
them...
he as traditionalist as...
No, and that's the point. He was much more of, the peasant agrarian Republican.
Oh, okay. Style. Conservative.
But so what does that mean, Republican in the Finnish context?
Well, it means basically anti-monarchist in the strictest sense. And I peg the what I have in the Center Party for later is that their ideological forefather, Santeri Alkio, is what I describe as sort of Jeffersonian, honestly. Not as classically liberal, of course, but very much of this, Republican force of peasant farmers and landed freeholdings. So the anti-monarchism is extremely, extremely strong, whereas Paasikivi was actually part of the people who tried in 1918 to get Finland into a kingdom with a German prince, Karl of Hesse, but didn't get it due to Weimar happening. So,
what are they Republican about? I mean, do they have their own royal family? I was actually not clear on that.
No,
before.
No, just Republican, as in against Swedish and Russian monarchies.
Against the Swedish monarchs. I see.
Yes, Swedish and Russian both.
Yeah, the Finns tried to import a German monarch in was it 1918, but then Weimar happened, so
yes.
So that was that.
Yikes.
Yes, so Kekkonen was more of this school, but the main point of appeasement, of course, is the main point, which is why he had good relations in the KGB, personal relations, not, these linkages of power are often built on personal relationships. So I just wanted to emphasize, and that personal relationships is shown with these two heads of state, Khrushchev and Kekkonen, right here on the left, and
having
Kekkonen,
a bit of a row.
They're having a good old
fun boys time.
Yeah, they're having a good old boys time, and the picture on the right, of course, is JFK and Kekkonen. Now, they're not having as fun of a time.
Oh, there's no touching there.
There's no touching. I think Kekkonen enjoyed his time still. He went to Hawaii and had a swim. But anyway, the picture on the right happened, and state visit to America happened mainly because Finland was, as all the other Eastern Bloc countries, invited into the Warsaw Pact. And we just refused. And that was that. Which is an interesting phase in history. I think the main...
They just said no, and then the Soviet just said okay.
Basically, they didn't want to push it, because it was no longer Stalin. It was...
fair enough.
But there's also the fact that Russia was still occupying all these other places. So they had actual boots on the ground, and then they're asking, will you join our union? Whereas in Finland, they no longer had boots on the ground. They'd given up Birkarl. So they didn't have that lever to push it, and didn't see it as worth it at that point, because they thought they could win us over anyway. So I think this is something that maybe I couldn't find that much about. I think some very specialized historians could autistically look into this and find out more. I don't know, maybe that personal diaries have been burned or something, but
Right. Now,
Anyway.
I see
Anyway.
in the notes here for this that you have something that I can't let pass. That's the 200 Lenin birthday parties.
Yes, this is part of the appeasement to show the subservience. There's a big. We didn't want to, of course, celebrate Stalin, and after Khrushchev came in, there was this big de-Stalinization anyway. But to show subservience, of course, the religion, the political formula must be adhered to. So in practically every municipality across the whole country, there was simultaneous Lenin birthday parties and people giving speeches on how great a man he was, and he gave our independence. We didn't take it, and all kinds of this day. And this is basically the Paasikivi Kekkonen line, or the YYA agreement line, that defined
It's a bit interesting considering the things we talked about last time you were on, Birkarl, with the way Finland sort of aggressively signaled or virtue signaled when
Yes.
Trump came to visit. It's sort of the same thing, right?
Yes, it's exactly the same thing.
Just the other way, just
to
to the east instead of the west.
Yes, I was thinking about this when I said that. Actually, it ended up as foreshadowing now, I guess. But
I suppose.
So, due to refusing the Warsaw Pact anyway, the U.S. wanted a state visit to know what is going on. This is this country that we thought was a complete Soviet satellite just refused to join them. What is this? Kennedy wanted to personally talk to Kekkonen and know what's what. And well, the actual negotiations were quite a lot of political ease, in the sense that they, were a real independent country and totally not subservient to the Soviet Union. Yes. As you can see, we refused to join the Warsaw Pact, and that is why we are completely independent. There are no Lenin birthday parties going on. But the most significant part of this visit is that when Kekkonen is at the end of his trip taking a vacation to Hawaii and swimming, he gets a call from Helsinki, from his government, that the Kremlin has sent a note. And what basically reads on that note, and this was actually the first time Kekkonen was on his way to re-election, so he was criticized for the state visit because there was an election campaign going on, and he was thought to lose because he wasn't out campaigning. But what was read on this note from the Kremlin was basically quite an open threat, after which every single candidate stepped down immediately. And when Kekkonen came back, he was basically the only candidate left in the race. And it is suspected and pretty much confirmed today, that Kekkonen actually asked for this note through his personal relations in the KGB to be delivered to his own government to threaten everyone else out of the race.
I think there is an interesting vote tabulation clip from this. The aftermath of this.
No, that's later. That's his fourth election.
Ah, right.
Oh, it's that the one you sent.
Yeah,
in the
yes,
Longhouse
that's the
other
one.
day.
That's
Okay.
the one. But after this, Kekkonen basically establishes his satrapy, and he is the only man in charge, and nothing in the country practically happens politically without him. And he coordinates pretty well the payment of the war reparations after the war, which is mostly paid out in highly processed industrial goods, and those being mostly ships, icebreakers especially, that the Soviet Union really wanted because their own manufacturing in that field was not as good.
You want me to play the clip, or do you want to save it for later?
Well, I think it's good to play here. If it is from the 70s, I think, or
I
late
just think
70s.
it's funny.
But it is very funny because, and this was the time when Finland was the old presidential system with the president as the head of government as well. He was chosen by electoral college system. So these are the electoral college votes being tabulated.
Being counted. Okay. Oh, it lasts for a while, so I'm probably not going to play all of it. But you're going to get the gist after.
I think 30 seconds is enough, or maybe 20 even.
Kekkonen, 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 Kekkonen. Kekkonen, 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 Kekkonen. Kekkonen, 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 Kekkonen. Kekkonen, 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 Kekkonen.
And it goes on.
It goes on like that for like 2 to 3 minutes, I think.
But democracy.
Yes, this is true democracy. As you can see, that was in color TV, so it was pretty much somewhat later.
But imagine this is pretty much how it went from this point on.
No,
regardless.
yeah, people had the. I think this was still a much more honest time than now, because back then people at least understood, this is a facade. We aren't actually democratic, even though we want to be.